Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, July 18th, 2022. We are past halfway. I've said it before. This time just continues to march on. There's nothing we can do about it. But hopefully, you're getting some work done on your projects and staying out of the sun. It's ridiculous how hot it's been. And it's not just here in the U.S., it seems like it's worse in the UK from what I'm gathering. I think Simone is here. I saw a comment earlier. But it's just hitting all across the world, and people are suffering. People are struggling with this because we're not used to these kind of temperatures. Hopefully, it settles down and we're all good to go. But yeah, it's been hot. Now, thankfully, here in Georgia, at least where I'm at, just south of Atlanta, it's not been too bad. It's been in the 90s, and we've had some rain, which is helping to keep temperatures down some. But I know it's hot up in the north. It's hot in Texas, as Robert can acclaim, or attest, I should say. But yeah, it's hot and miserable. So anyway, I'm glad that you all are here. We do this on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, and we try to have a good turnout. We try to have let's say good people show up and make comments and all those sort of things. And last week we had some clowns show up. We had some clown, maybe more than one, I don't know. We had some clowns show up, and they were trying to ruin this event. And the thing is, last week I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't figure out how to stop them from interfering with what we do. And Robert did some research. He found out there's a way to correct that. And so this week, what I've done is set some parameters. And maybe I won't even say what they are because maybe they'll try to get around them. But they have to be subscribed to make any kind of comment. So if you are, unfortunately, if you're a casual viewer and you want to make a comment, I can't help you there because we just try to keep the clowns out of the conversation. So I've had to draw a little line in the sand and say, you can't comment unless you're a subscriber. So I apologize in advance if that affects anybody, but I know we have a pretty good turnout of people, and they tend to be already subscribed. So that's how it works. Anyway, so if you're new to this and you want to become involved, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and that'll help everybody out. We tend to, in this live stream, we try to talk about classic cars. And I say that from the 50s, 60s, 70s, even some in the 80s, maybe. Sometimes we talk about problems we may have or some ideas that we may want to discuss, and just maybe get some good conversation going in that aspect. And normally, if there's a question and I can answer it, or if anybody else can answer it, you get a bell. Just something I offer free of charge. And I try to answer the question. If I can't, I know I've got a great core of people over on the side here who have great answers. There's been many times where I don't have an answer to a question, and many people have responded and helped resolve that sort of thing. So welcome to the chat. We already have 31 viewing. If you would, hit the thumbs up button. Let YouTube know that you are interested in watching this and you want to continue to help that. So hit the thumbs up button. So if you join in, hit the button. Thanks. Okay, right off the top, we have Rick checking in. Rick Gain. I hope everybody's doing well. Looking forward to some good conversation tonight. It's been a rather hectic week, and it's just beginning. Sorry to hear that, Rick. Sorry to hear that. I'm hoping things smooth out for you, but you get the first bell of attendees. Glad you're here. Jerry checking in from the Money Pit in Middle Tennessee. Good evening to all, and thumbs up. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Simone, hello, Barry and chat. So that's our first European. I want to say England, but we'll say, because UK, all that stuff. We talk about this and how we get it all confused over here in the States. But glad you're here, Simone. Bob Shoemaker, good evening all. The cover truck looks a lot like my friend's 57 GMC that I've worked on a lot. Sure wish it had a tilt front end. Oh, yeah, those things are hard to get into. they look, I mean, they've got plenty of room, but to get over those fenders or over the front end and get down in there and do some work, yeah, it would be beneficial to have either a tilt front end or one you could just de-pin and just pull it off. So yeah, that was a truck that I saw at one of the local cruise-ins. And I really like those trucks. I especially like with the big back window. I know from a safety standpoint, that's a nightmare. Those things are just, if you ever roll one of those trucks, that's just going to collapse on you. But they look really cool. Glad you're here, Bob. Robert, I'm here, hot and grumpy. 113 today, and now the fiber internet is down again. I am sorry to hear that, Robert. I am sorry to hear that. You know, by coincidence, AT&T, since you mentioned the fiber deal, I think they've been trying to put that everywhere they can, right? And I don't know if they're coming down our street with it or what they're doing. I have no idea, because we live on a dead end street, and there's not like hundreds of houses in here, so I don't know if they're really going to try to put it on a street or not. But probably a month ago, the utility people came by and they put the flags in the yard. You know, whatever the colors mean. You got red and yellow, and one's gas, one's, I don't even know. I know one's gas and one's, I don't know if it's electric or no. Doesn't matter. So they're putting they had all the flags going across just off the road in our grass. Let me back up one step before I finish that. Few months ago, on a very wet week, AT&T was doing some sort of maintenance. I think it was AT&T. I think. Maybe it was Georgia Power. Anyway, might have been Georgia Power. Was working on the transformers and checking those out. So what they did, rather than drive their truck, there's only 3 driveways on this side of the street that don't have trees in them. Okay, everything else has trees and buildup. So rather than them being polite and backing up into the driveway, stretching their boom truck over 10 feet to check the transformer, and then go to the next driveway, which is 150 feet away or whatever it is, and back in, check that transformer, whatever it was, they decided to just drive straight across all of our driveways. So we have ruts in the grass that are like that deep. So now when we're mowing, you hit those ruts. Okay, so thanks to Georgia Power or whoever. So now AT&T is out here, and they had put utility service, whatever, put the flags in the yard. So we had the ruts in the yard, and we had these flags painted. You know, you try to drive around all that, ride the mower around all that stuff. Finally, last week I said, I'm done with it. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody out here for over a month. I don't know what they're doing. I don't care anymore. I pulled all the flags up, tossed them, mowed my yard. Didn't think anything of it. Today, AT&T is out there. My wife was looking out the window and said, "What are they doing in our yard?" Apparently, they were walking back and forth trying to see where those flags were, because there's still some yellow and red paint on the grass. So they were trying to find where the flags were, and I was like, "Yeah, sorry." But I see, you know, Robert's talking about the fiber internet, so I don't even know if it's as good as projected, let's say. But we'll see. Steve Grimes, good evening from steamy Central PA. Glad to hear, Steve. Charlie Seidelman. Hey, everyone. Hey, Charlie. Greg's Workshop. Hi, Barry and everyone. Glad to hear Greg. Greg is checking in from Australia. So I'll give a couple of bells. Charlie, Greg, Troy, Roger. That's a bell for everybody I may have missed. But glad you're here. Troy. Hey, Barry and gang. I hope all are doing well. Just made it in time. First night I've had to mow my lawn. Yeah, that's. I try to mow when it's just about to get dark to avoid the heat. Roger checking in from next door. I was just talking about the lovely way they treated our yards. And Greg saying hi, Simone. Rich Reese. Hello, Rich. Hope you're doing well. Oh, Simone. My fans have been going all day. It's an oven out there. Yeah, I was looking at the temperatures they were uh, projecting or talking about, and it looks terrible. It does. Jeff. Jeff is also from the UK. It is worse here in the UK, especially here in Barking, East London. Glad you're here, Jeff. Haven't seen you in a while. Crash Rider, good evening from Southern Indiana. Any update regarding the frame problem? Be sure to hit the thumbs up button. You know, that's no. That would be a great subject to talk about. But we boxed the frame or tied the frame for the 56 back to the pallet, loaded it on my friend's truck. He took it to wherever he had picked it up from and dropped it off. And I haven't heard anything from him, from Checkered Racing, nothing. So I have no idea. I don't know if I need to be reaching out to them or what. But hopefully they find the same problem that I found and recognize that something happened to it in transit or whatever. So, yeah, I don't have any updates, and I wish I did. Wish I could say, yeah, it's on the way, but I can't. Along with that, since you brought it up, I had a conversation with one of the representatives from Auto Metal Direct earlier today. And I asked him, I said, what's the update on the Camaro stuff? I texted him. I said, what's the update on the Camaro stuff? And he said that he's been out of the loop a little bit, and he's going to check into it and see what's going on and get back with me. So that's another one that's sitting aside for the moment. Lightning Rod 004, Jeff Reynolds. I have a friend in Reading who is dealing with record temps. Yeah. And Lightning Rod, good evening, Barry. Hello from Pennsylvania. Glad you're here, Rod. Jeff, at least subscribe before I started clowning around. Well, thank you, Jeff. At this point, I don't see if there's any. I haven't heard from Robert if there's any. I don't see any comments that are from the clowns. So it looks like we're okay at the moment. Aaron is checking in. Glad you're here, Aaron. Terry Keithley just finished a big slice of cherry pie with ice cream. Okay. I'll give you a couple bells for that. That sounds good. Oh, Jeff is saying, at least I subscribed before started clowning around with y'all. Look at that. He's saying y'all. You get a bell, Jeff. Richard Byrne. Hello, all. 92 in Central Florida. Yep. It was about 92 here today in Georgia, I believe. Troy. I feel for you, Robert. My daughter was in Dallas this weekend and said it was in the triple digits all weekend. She said it was 109 when she left. Yeah, Texas is really getting hammered. I know Robert has shared some information with me and some pictures, and like he had said, the grass is dead. There's only a couple spots where he's been watering the bushes, and residual water is helping keep the grass around them alive, watering this tree or trees, and again, the residual is keeping the grass alive. And he sent me a picture earlier where the deer are coming to his yard and eating the grass around the tree now because they don't have any food. So it's really rough. It is really rough. Simone, I repaired my prop shaft this week. Do you have props on classic cars in the States that have bearings, rubbers, and U-joints part way along? Okay, let me see. Let me see if I can read that correctly. So prop shaft, we're talking about a drive shaft. If we're talking about a standard drive shaft, it goes to rear differential. That have bearings. I'm not sure what I know we have I could say we have U-joints with needle bearings, and I guess the rubber you may be talking about, the seals that go in the cups. So if that's what you're referring to, yes, that's exactly how we have it set up. You know what I mean? Hold on a second. I might. Let me go look real quick. Let me see if I have one laying down. Yep, I do. I do. Yeah. Got one right here. So There's the yoke and the rear U-joint. Probably the same kind of deal. Not sure what this one's off of. It might be. That might be off of the car that won't go away. Might be. I don't remember. But yeah, that's what we have. Simone says to Robert, I calculated temps here in the 90s. We're in the 90s too. Yeah. Roger, it's okay. The yellow flags are only marking the gas line location. Hey, they'll find it. They'll find it one way or another. We don't need gas right now anyway. We only use it for heat, so it's, doesn't really matter. Jeff, awesome, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. That is a great thing to do. Thank you. Let's see. Robert's talking to Simone. Does your Cortina have the big rubber disc connection at the U-joints like some German cars? Our cars never use those here. Okay. I'm not familiar with that necessarily. Roger, and yes, AT&T is apparently doing fiber on our street. I'll let you know how it goes. I may regret it. I'll report on next Monday. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. We will find out. Jeff, Barry, you should see my clog dancing. Jeff, if you send me a picture of you clog dancing, I will post it. I will gladly post it. Yeah, I would definitely post that. Terry, I checked in at 5:15 CDT. You missed it. Oh, wait a minute. It doesn't show you, Terry. We're back to that again. It doesn't show you. The first one to check in was Rick at 6:37. So I don't know what happened, Terry, but it doesn't show you. Sometimes it doesn't do that thing like it's supposed to. Lindley Harris. Hey, Barry. Hey, everyone from Brisbane, Australia. Welcome, Lindley. I'm thinking you're new here. I have not seen that name before. Glad you were here. And Roger says, sounds like a carrier bearing. Simone, Barry, my prop is different to that. Okay. Derek Pro checking in. Hi, Barry. Hope all's well. Did you get this Chevy sorted out? New front end arrived yet? No, it has not arrived. I have not received any word on if they've received it yet because I'm out of the loop on that. I did not order it. I didn't have any involvement with any of it other than the friend of mine ordered it, under his what he thought was a good frame. I don't know anything about the company. I assume they're a good company. I've heard good things about them. So he ordered it, had it delivered to a business that is up the road from where I live, and then he picked it up from there and brought it to my place. And then, of course, we reversed that. Loaded it back up. He took it back to that place, and it got shipped. But who knows where it's at now? I don't know what the transit. I don't have any tracking information. So I don't know. I just don't know. But a good question, Derek. Let's see. Bob. Mercedes and Mercure, or is it Mercure? I don't know. Have similar rubber disc couplers in the driveline. That would be interesting. I mean, I've not seen that, but I'm kind of get the idea what you're talking about. Terry Keithley, no biggie, will always be here, Barry. Awesome, thank you, Terry. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't show you. Derek's talking to Lindley. Says he's freezing in Melbourne. Yep, you're freezing, and we're getting burned up here. Rick, did anybody check and make sure the company that builds the frame doesn't have a checkered past? I'll give you a bell for that. I've talked to a couple people who said they're familiar with that company and said they're really good. But I know nothing about them at all, other than I've looked at their website. I could tell you my honest opinion, their instructions are not good as far as what they offer. Because y'all know how I do stuff. Like, if I'm giving you some information, I want to give you a path that you can go on, visual images, talk about it, explain why. That's how I operate. And this company, I've shown it in a video. They just sent like 2 pages of kind of very generic instructions. Make this fit, make it level. Good luck. It's like, well, wait a minute. Could you give me at least one measurement somewhere, something that I can reference, or a picture that shows what you're discussing? No. So hopefully, when I do all this, they already know that I'm going to be making videos on the car. Hopefully, they're going to follow along, and maybe they'll see what I'm doing. Because I've had other companies do that. I had who was it? Mustangs to Fear. They changed one of their designs because they watched my video, and they were like, "Huh, that's a good idea," and they changed their design on one of their products. Do I get credit for that? No, but hey, if it made a better product and safer for other people, cool. But maybe Checkered Racing, if they see my videos and go, "Hey, you know what? We could just link this, and people could watch his video and just do it themselves," kind of thing. So maybe that'll come into fruition. There you go. Fruition. Word of the day. Fruition. Jeff Reynolds. Barry RE photoed me clog dancing. I'd have to Photoshop Miss Moonshine. Okay. Derek. So back on the Camaro. Yes, I know about the waiting game. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is still number one priority on the list right now. Partly because I already have it up on stands. I've got it level. I'm ready to cut. And if I get the other piece in here, boom, I can get it done. The Camaro, I'm on hold for that, waiting on sheet metal. So, I'm kind of in limbo right now. I need to find small things for me to do in a shop, clean up, get rid of stuff, whatever. So that's kind of where I'm at. Troy says, Simone, do you have a picture of your shaft? I'm curious to see what you're talking about. If let's see, if she does, she could email it to me. Yeah. If she wants to show it, I don't know. I'm going to show you another picture here though that Robert just sent me. And we were talking about the heat in Texas and how rough it is. So here is a picture of Robert's backyard. And you can see that there's no grass. There's dirt. Plenty of dirt. And then he's got a couple of trees growing and some bushes around the shop, and that's it. And the rest is non-growing dirt. So rough stuff. I've got some other pictures I want to show you later if Doyle shows up. I don't know if Doyle is here or not. See, he sent me some pictures last week, and it was late in the broadcast, let's say, and so I wasn't able to pull those up and show everybody. But I do have some pictures, and if Doyle shows up or is here, let me know. We'll post a couple pictures. Lindley, we're freezing in Brisbane too, mate. I'm sure everybody's got to be cold down there right now. Crash Letter Terry was the first one on my list. Okay, well then I don't know what's happened because he is not. Rick Gain is the first one on my list. But that's okay. It's all good. Derek says, yes, only heard it's not as good as usual. Okay, so Simone's going to send me, she'll send a picture. Okay. So we'll get that coming. And I have to give a shout out to Michael. He sends me some emails about the live stream and videos and stuff like that. So I'll give a shout out to Michael while I'm thinking about it. Aaron, I guess plus side is less mowing. Well, yeah, sort of. I don't know if that's a real plus in this case. Terry's the wife said you could put up cat pics. Oh boy, here we go again. Yeah, yeah, no cat pics. Not gonna happen. Nope, not at all. Doyle is here. Okay, so Doyle sent me some pictures last week, and I got them uploaded onto this stream. Um, and I've shown pictures of his car before, so I picked two pictures to show. And this is a good bit of work he's done to this. So that looks like a new outer wheelhouse, and I think it's I forget what year the car is again. Um, I'm sure Doyle can tell me in a minute. 69 Olds Cutlass. Okay, it's a 69 Olds Cutlass, and this car had a bunch of problems, bunch of quarter damage, bondo and rust and all kinds of stuff. And so he's done a ton of work to this car, and it's looking good. I want to show this other picture too. That looks good. Getting that quarter panel stitched on, what a difference that's going to make. I mean, that's a lot of work. And I don't even know if they make the quarter panel much bigger than that. I don't know. I've never dealt with one of those. So I don't know if it's, trimmed down to where you want it, or, if that's just the way he chose to do it. I don't know. But yeah, that's looking really good. Nice work, Doyle. Give you some bells for that. Derek, were you able to speak to your fellow YouTubers in Georgia that I mentioned who have done gassers also? I don't think so. Did you mention it on here, or did you message me on Facebook or something? Because it's hard for me to keep up with when we're doing this right now. It's really hard for me to keep track of stuff being pushed up, or it's hard. So if you want to send me a link, I don't know if did you send me? I don't know what you sent me. I can't remember honestly. So if you send me an email or something, I do know some people that build gassers here in Georgia, and I have had some great communication from some other people commenting on my Facebook posts and sending me messages. And, I've never done this before. I'm not intimidated by it really at all, because it's metal. It's metal. I'm good with metal. Let me cut it, weld it, go. I'm good with all that. But the process is where I have to think about things. Because I looked at a couple of other people's projects. In fact, the owner of the car, he gave me this. So this is a book of pictures on a 55 that somebody did, and it's got some good pictures, black and white. It's really hard to see some of the details, but it really gives you an idea of what to do and how to do some extra gussets and different things. But I already had kind of a game plan, and that was reinforced by some of the other comments that I had gotten. I know I shared some information on my Patreon video today, and I'm all about input. I mean, if I have a question, I generally just don't stumble my way into it. I try to find a resource. I try to find people who have ideas. And as my friend from Finland, Henry, whenever we have a discussion about things like this, he says, let's argue about it. I think that's fun. It's fun to hear just the way he says that. Let's argue about it. And he's not talking about arguing. He's just talking about having a conversation and debating different ideas. And so when I get other people putting out ideas, in almost everything that was suggested to me was already on my radar as to what I plan to do. But there were some other ideas that I really just kind of maybe didn't think through enough. And it's going to turn out fine. I know it will. But it's really great to have input from various people. Let's see, where are we at? So we have Derek Pro saying nice work, Doyle. And yeah, that is nice work. Robert, nice work, Doyle. That's a big quarter to do and easy to warp. That is true. That is true. Troy, great work, Doyle. Greg saying good work, Doyle. And Doyle is saying they did not make a full quarter all the way up to the roof. I wanted to keep as much of the original quarter as possible. Well, you did a good job. I mean, honestly, I did a very similar repair on a 69 Chevelle, and we didn't have the full quarter. We had to do like 80% skin or whatever. And I didn't cut it on a curve like you did. I cut it more a straight line. It still turned out great. But, sometimes on a curve, you may be further ahead because you can, let's say, reduce some stress points. A good example of that, I was watching, I think I mentioned before, I watched a TV show, Ken Diggett Designs, and they were having a competition to where they were trying to find people that could work for them. And they wanted when people want to showcase their skills. And one of the challenges that was given to them was they said, okay, you've got this fender, it's got a rusted hole in it, like they just chopped a hole in it or whatever. And they said, patch it. Show us how you're going to patch it. And, typically I would default to just a square patch. And I would tack the corners and then just dance around and weld it together. And 9 times out of 10, I don't have an issue with that. But in this case, what they did was they cut a circle. And I was like, wait a minute, why did they cut a circle? And the reality of that is when you cut a circle as a filler piece, you make the hole, make your filler, and you start tacking it. Well, now you've got all of the pull around a circle rather than corners or a straight edge. Great idea. In fact, I used some of that whenever I did the fender work on Jade. I fixed one of the fenders, and rather than cut the corner of the fender off straight, I cut it on a curve. And then my filler piece, I remade that curve and tacked that thing in. And it makes perfect sense. But normally, I think most of us by default are going to go, well, just cut a box out, make another box, weld it in, be done with it. And now I haven't had to do much of that lately as far as that kind of work. But the idea is sound. It's a good idea. Let's see. Terry Keithley. Did he MIG or TIG the quarter? I'm going to say that's MIG work. Based on what I can see of the quarter, I'm going to say that's MIG, my assumption. I could be wrong, but I'm going to assume that's MIG. Derek, on Messenger, I'll just send you an email. You can read later. Okay. Yeah, I now remember you talking about that, Derek. And I had reached out to them before for another kind of project deal, and they didn't respond at all. So that may be that's pretty much why I didn't even try to reach out to them, because I think they've gotten like some of the big head syndrome, and they don't want to mess with smaller people. So I didn't even reach out to them. Because I know I'd tried to contact them before, and they never even gave me a response. And I get it; they got all kinds of people wanting to talk to them and bend their ear and whatever. So I appreciate it though. Okay, so Simone has sent me some pictures. So here we go. Ready? Boom. What is that? Okay. So I'm guessing that's a two-piece drive shaft or prop shaft, and that looks like a carrier bearing. Well, what we would find on like trucks. So yeah, there we go. So it's a two-piece, we'll say prop shaft, and a carrier bearing. That's what we would call that, a carrier bearing. And they use those a lot on trucks. I don't know if there's any cars that have ever had those that I know of, but that's a typical, like an extended cab truck or a long bed extended cab truck. In fact, on the 68 GMC that I built, I had to custom build one of those for what I was doing. So I had to have it. I have one of my drives. It had two drive shafts, and I had to shorten one of them, and I kept the carrier bearing. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you don't need that carrier bearing. Get rid of it." And I was like, "No, I want to keep it. I want to keep the drive shaft, the main drive shaft, shorter. I didn't want some 8 foot long drive shaft underneath that truck." So, but yeah, I get it now. And someone also says, Doyle, the quarter looks good. Yes. Doyle, MIG, tax, .023 wire, 7525 argon mix. Yep. Robert, it's a carrier bearing. Yep. And Derek says center bearing issue. So they have different names for these. So Simone says two-piece. And it's a prop shaft. Robert says not something done on cars here, only long trucks. Yes. Shopcat Industries at JD's Garage. Howdy, and Infernal Craftsman and at Hooked on Classics. Howdy, Shopcat. So Derek, a lot of GM products and Japanese vehicles here had that set up for years. Interesting. Jerry, the 2002 to 2009 Mustang GT500 has a two-piece drive shaft with a carrier bearing. Interesting. I did not know that. I've never worked on one of those, so that's good information. And Bob Shoemaker, my 61 bubble top Chevy had a two-piece drive shaft. I like those cars. That bubble top was such a cool design. Such a cool design. Death in a rollover, but a really cool design. Michael Pagliarini, Toyota and Subaru all-wheel drive uses them a lot. I guess I could see that because the design is completely different than our traditional regular cars and short trucks. But I guess I could see that with the all-wheel drive setup. Simone's talking to Jerry. Okay. Let's see. Shopcat, I'm a sucker for the flat top GM sedans. All right. Derek saying very, very reliable if you haven't got lots of power or beat on it too much. Yeah, I could see that. Robert, my El Camino would have been better off with a two-piece as it's really long, so long that the tube is larger in the middle than it is on the ends. It's a large diameter tube. That's interesting. You know, speaking of drive shafts or prop shafts, we could say that. I have a friend who had a 2018 or 19, I think it was a GMC, and it was probably, I don't know if it was a 2500 HD, but it was a crew cab, short bed, four-wheel drive, Z7-1, all the bells, all the whistles, everything. And he was driving it, and he kept hearing some weird noise. And he was like, where's this coming from? So the truck only had like 30,000 miles on it. He's driving it, and he kept hearing this noise, like a clunky sound. And he thought, well, I'm going to take it back to the dealer. It's under warranty and see what they say. He took it back to the dealer. They start looking at it, and they said, your drive shaft is bad. And he was like, my drive shaft is bad. Now, this may be, the way I look at it, it could be a sales gimmick that they were employing. Like, they're telling him the drive shaft itself is bad. I've never seen a solid, I'm assuming it's a solid one-piece drive shaft, the drive shaft itself have a problem other than being bent or out of balance. Never. A U-joint, I could see that. But he was saying that there was no play in the U-joints, and he could feel the drive shaft making this noise. So the dealer said, yeah, it's the drive shaft. The problem, they told him, was they don't have these drive shafts. They can't get these drive shafts. They said, so your truck is going to sit here because we can't let you drive it. It's a safety concern at this point. We can't let you drive it because of this defective drive shaft. So what did he do? He went and bought a brand new truck. He said they gave him more than he owed on his. The other truck looked brand new. He said they gave him a huge amount of money for that truck, and he ended up buying this other truck. So he's got another brand new GMC. But I've never heard of a drive shaft itself having problems. Now, I could maybe, if you had a crack down the length of the drive shaft and it was kind of just moving enough to where it could squeak or something, I don't know. But it was really a weird thing for him to say that that the drive shaft was bad. Simone, the only real problem I had was when I removed the shaft from the gearbox. I emptied itself and I had to bung to plug it, very hard to refill. Oh. So you emptied, okay, gearbox. I know we have different words. So you remove the shaft from the transmission and you emptied it. With that, you didn't have a yoke, like we call it, a yoke assembly to push in there and reseal it. And it's very hard to refill. Sorry to hear about that. That's never fun. And it's not like you could even jack it up probably high enough to keep the fluid forward on it. Jerry did the wrong year. It should be 2005 to 2009 GT500 Mustangs. A big upgrade for these cars are to replace the two-piece drive shaft with a single aluminum drive shaft. I can believe that. I don't understand the logic in putting a two-piece drive shaft in a Mustang. I mean, how long is the drive shaft? 5 feet? Why would you bother putting in a two-piece drive shaft? Makes no sense. Robert, many of the newer Ford trucks have non-replaceable U-joints. What? You have to buy a new $500 plus drive shaft, but there are companies that will cut it apart and rebuild them. Non-replaceable U-joints. Yeah, no. I'll go to Driveline Specialty or Driveline Services right here in Atlanta. Tell them what I need. Boom. They'll make me one. No. That's ridiculous. Dave Conville checking in. Better late than never. Good evening. There's the Dave bell. Glad you're here, Dave. Rick, dealer allowed to get a sale. No surprise. That's where I'm leaning. That's where I'm leaning. Like say, hey, well, we'll take your truck on trade. We're here to help you out, buddy. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking they did. Set them up. Doyle, did you get the horn for Jade working from the steering wheel? Not yet. And Robert's saying bad horn relay. I don't know. Is there I don't even know what's connected from the horn. Like, I haven't researched this at all. So are you saying there's a relay in line when you hit the button on the horn? Because I'm using an aftermarket horn button. The thing is, if I put a voltmeter out on the wire and I hit the button, I was getting 13, 14 volts. So to me, it's like, that should be working. Because that's the same as me taking a wire and jumping it to the battery. So what's the deal? So I don't know if is there a horn relay? Because I have not researched this at all. Not at all. I was going to get to the point where I was just going to run a hot wire in from somewhere, get one of those little under dash generic horn buttons, and feed that into the system if I had to, but I don't want to do that. Simone, I might be able to refill via the Speedo warm gear in the side of the transmission. Man, that doesn't sound like fun. They don't have a service port at the top? That's really strange, Simone. I don't know what the norm is on that. Derek, they're saying probably already had a buyer that would pay big bucks for that particular truck. Win for them. LOL. Yeah, that's very possible. Robert, there is a little silver relay. Okay, well I'll have to look for that because I haven't even considered that idea that there would be a relay. I always thought they were just straight ahead wire feed. Mr. Fireman is checking in. How you doing, sir? Glad you are here. Glad you are here. And we could still, if anybody is interested in joining the stream, let me know, and we can get you an invite. Bob, I had a '79 Ford E350 trailer tow rig that I had the rubber cushion turn loose on the way back to racetrack in Fort Worth. Lots of vibration. Put a long bolt with the washers in the space to lock it in. Interesting. Shane, the 79 to 85 Mazda RX-7s had non-serviceable U-joints. Don't understand the reasoning for it. It makes no sense. Of course, now, like cars don't even have dipsticks. They don't want you checking your oil. They don't want you knowing if you have good, if it's low on oil or not. Michael, a lot of newer vehicles, the drive shafts are non-serviceable, so you replace the whole shaft. Chevy and Ford just had a TSB go out for a death wobble. Nice. Why are they doing this to us? Derek Simone, what about filling from top at shifter area? That's not a bad idea. I don't know what the access is. I don't know if there's an opening at the top where you can remove something to get into the where the shifter goes in. But that's not a bad idea. Rick is asking, where is the horn relay located? That's a good question. Simone, service port is very close to the transmission tunnel with minimal clearance. The box is a race short shift made by Quaife. That's another foreign term or foreign company to me. Wouldn't know who that is. Well, maybe, I don't know. Well, maybe if you could find where that service port is in relation to your transmission tunnel, you could cut a hole there so you have access to it and then just put a rubber plug in. Might not be a bad idea. Of course, how often are you going to have to service it? That's the question. And Derek says, depending on type of transmission, ergo Tremac, T5, etc., you can do that. Yeah. Yeah. Not a bad idea at all. So I have to ask, I mean, Robert, have you seen, I haven't seen any of the clown posse show up. People trying to ruin the stream. So I'm guessing that setting the parameters has helped. That's my guess. And I have to remember to do that every single time because it only does it for that individual live stream. Robert, I think I am wrong. I'm remembering something about it being a 65 only thing for the relay in the early cars now. Okay. Well, that may be. Simone, I was thinking change the oil once a year. Well, then you may want to go ahead and just put in like I said, a service port. Cut a nice round hole, get a rubber plug that pops in there. Marshall, howdy folks. Does the horn have to ground against the radiator support when it mounts? I'm having no horn issues too. I bared the metal on the core support. I bared the metal on the horn and I bolted them on. What I did in my little short video, I put a power source on the wire that plugs into the horn or both horns that are already attached to the core support, and I hit the battery and I had horn. Nice and loud, good sound to them. Those are the ones that had a bunch of media in the horns, and I had to knock it all out. So I had good, power going into those, and they sounded great. But if I try to use the steering wheel, it just doesn't do much of nothing. Aaron, they're too busy trying to figure out how magnets work. What? What is that? What is that question? What is that statement? Okay, Aaron just went off on a little tangent there. I don't know what that's about. Robert, all good on the stream. I'm lagging as I'm tethering, but all is good. Okay, good. Well, that's a plus. So changing those parameters helped a lot. Rick is saying, Robert, I have an early 65 and the horn isn't working. Okay. Simone. Oh, okay. Sent some pictures of the transmission. That's a nice looking transmission. Let me see if I can at least get one of those up. See how much room I have left on my. Everybody lean your head. Let me try another one. Everybody's at home going, what? Let's see. There we go. See, that's a good looking transmission right there. Interesting. I like it. Thank you, Simone. Appreciate it. So now we have an idea what the transmission looks like. Aaron, it's a reference to an Insane Clown Posse song. Where one of the lyrics is magnets, how do they work? It was about the bots. Woo! Thank you, Aaron. Because I couldn't name anything about Insane Clown Posse's music. I've heard of them. I probably have heard some of their music, but I couldn't tell you any of their lyrics. So thank you for that. I'll have to remember that. Not the fact that Insane Clown Posse had that in their lyrics, but when somebody's having a conversation, I could just interject. So have they figured out how magnets work yet? Because nobody really knows. They're all magic. Shane, my 64.5 has two bighorns bolted to the frame in engine area. Apparently these will not be fun to get working when I reach that point. No relay in original system. Okay. Yeah, that's what's unique about the 64.5 is the horn location, the generator, the core support has a weird vent system built into it. I think those are the primary things to look at for the 64.5 differences. That and there's no, I think all the trim screw, the trim is all held in with screws on around the windshield frame. Derek, yes, okay, you'd probably be able to via the shifter. So we're talking about the, yeah, I mean, it looks like you can unbolt that. The question is, how much do you know, how do you check it? How do you know if you have too much or not enough in there? That would be probably the challenge. Robert, I think it was somewhere around the steering column or near the kick panel in early cars. Have seen it on friends one time a long time ago when working on it. So that's the answer, Rick. Roger, I don't see an easy way to fill that transmission after install. Yeah. Simone, what is a juggalo? Okay, if that's another Insane Clown Posse reference, I don't know. I don't know what that means. Derek, similar to a T5, shifter very easy to remove, providing you haven't got big consoles, etc. Yep. Yeah. I don't know what that means, Simone. I'm so sorry. Magnets. How do they work? That should be a topic for one of our Monday night live streams. Just how do magnets work? In fact, I saw a video, not necessarily about magnets, but it was talking about these people who had designed ways to generate like free electricity. You know, like Tesla. He had visions of just drawing electricity from the atmosphere, and they were talking in this video about all these people who had come up with these ideas, and they've all disappeared. They've all disappeared. And one guy had made something, he called it the dynamo, and it was supposed to create more energy than it used to operate it or something. And he was starting to build these things, and he was going to market them. And next thing you know, he's gone. Just disappeared. Just disappeared. Crazy how that works. Robert, have two friends pick up the rear of the car and fill it through the tail shaft housing while they're yelling at you to hurry up. Yeah, there you go. Michael, have you checked the horn button itself on the bottom of the steering wheel? Not making good connection. Had to clean the contact point on my Chevelle's wheel. You know, I have not. I did put in that new aftermarket steering wheel, and that's not a bad idea. I know I looked at all that, and I think I cleaned it, but that's not a bad idea. I should probably do a double check on that and make sure. Thank you for that. Rick, considering having my entire car professionally rewired, I can't do it myself anymore. Yeah, I understand, Rick. Shane, Juggalo is a fan of Clown Posse. Okay. See, I don't know. It's not in my genre. It's not in my... If it's not AC/DC and Metallica, Def Leppard, you know, I'm not in the Insane Clown Posse grouping. Aaron, when they're pulling interior out of my Mustang, I found the inner wheel houses are see-through, sadly, but it's just metal. Yeah. Yeah, that's the inner wheel houses. Yeah, that's... Well, we've talked about this before. If you're going to replace... I'm assuming, I don't know what you're going to do. If you're just going to patch, or if you need to... If you're doing quarter panels, just do the one piece, full welded wheel houses, both halves together. Don't buy the separate pieces. At least I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're just patching it, you can just kind of do what you need to do. Robert says, or just rust. Yeah, it's either just metal or it's just rust. Pretty much. Both accurate. If it ain't metal, it's rust. Aaron, and these were fenders, so it's going to be a whole wheelhouse. Yep. Well, you can do it. Simone, it's almost 1 a.m. I'm going to try and get some sleep. Thanks for the feedback on the car. Good night. Barry, Robert, Kat, and everyone else. I hope the heat is kind to you all. Have a good night, Simone. Glad you were here. Always appreciate your input. Let's see here. Doyle saying a good chance to mini tub it. Yeah, you could. I saw a video, speaking of mini tubs. You know, I did the mini tubs on the 68 Camaro that I did years ago. And it was Detroit Speed, I think, is the company that I used. And, you know, you cut out metal and you kind of remodify the frame rails, and it does make it a lot wider. But I saw another group of guys do it a different way, where they had just kind of straightened out the curve, because the wheelhouse, you know, it's got the big curve, and that was affecting the spacing, and they just kind of like squared off the curve a bit, and they gained like 2 inches. It was kind of interesting. It was really neat little video they made. I think I posted a link to them somewhere. I can't remember what the name of their channel is right now, but it was interesting. Terry's saying, hey Robert, what year Ford trucks? Is that what we're saying? I'm not sure what we're asking, Terry. Wait, hold on a second. I have a couple. I have a junkyard story that I want to tell. Everybody, occasionally, certain people want to hear a junkyard story. So let me do this. Go boom. Junkyard story time. Okay. So y'all know that I grew up. My dad had a junkyard. Me and my brother worked the junkyard, and I think my brother had more freedom, in a sense, to build stuff the way he wanted it, or to modify stuff or whatever, because he just did it. He just flat out, I'm just doing it. I don't care what Dad says. And me, on the other hand, I was like, hey, Dad, I would like to maybe rebuild this Mustang or whatever. And I always got turned down. So my brother never asked. He just did what he wanted. Well, in one instance, he got a hold of I think it was a 49 Studebaker truck. And I don't know exactly where he got it from. I don't know much about the history of that truck, if he bought it partially built or what he did with it exactly. What I do know is he put it on a Ford four-wheel drive chassis, like a half-ton chassis. And then he put a Studebaker 289 engine in it, Studebaker transmission, Ford transfer case. So it was Studebaker driveline, or engine and transmission, but Ford driveline. And I think the truck that it was used from, because they had put the I-beam suspension in those trucks. I think they even did it on the four-wheel drives. But he did it to where it was leaf springs, front and rear. Pretty cool looking truck. He had painted it purple, like a dark purple, and then had snow like painted on the fenders. So it was supposed to be like this mountain truck, let's say. So it was all purple, and it had like this snow pattern coming off the fenders. It was pretty cool. It had stacks on the back. For the fuel tank, he had a keg in this thing, like a beer keg. And he didn't have a gauge on it. He'd have to open it up and like put a stick in it to see how much gas he had. The dash was made out of, I think it was wormy chestnut. So the dash itself was wormy chestnut. It had a rope around the perimeter of it. It was a pretty cool truck. It had a visor up on the front. If I can find a picture of it, sometime I'll try to post it. But it was a really cool looking 4x4. Well, he had this for years, and we used to tow cars with it, just whatever. And it was lifted up somewhat. Well, I had bought, when I was in the military, I bought a 72 Chevy 4x4. And that's a truck that I sold it sometime in the 90s. I actually owned it up until probably the mid 90s. And here's a picture of that truck. That's a young me, probably 19 or, well, no, probably 21 or so. And that was my 72 Chevy 4x4. I had a 6-inch lift kit on it, 33 by 1250 tires on it. This truck had a brush guard on it. It had the factory tow hooks on it. This was a forestry service truck originally. And it was a 350 engine, originally a 3-speed on the column. And I swapped it over and put a 4-speed in it. And I think I put in probably 2 different engines in it in the time that I had it. And anyway, that's my grandmother, by the way, right there. So, my truck, my brother hated Chevys, just hated Chevys. Every chance he got, he would like destroy a Chevy. Just like when we were racing, he raced Dodge, he raced Mopars, and I wanted to race Chevys, and he wouldn't let me. I had to race a Dodge, a Chrysler product. So he's out there running late model stuff with at one time he had a 440 engine in this thing. And anyway, so he raced those, and I had to race a Chrysler product just because I wasn't allowed to run Chevys. But he hated Chevys. And he got beat by Chevys all the time when he raced. I think that's part of the reason why I hated him so much. But anyway, one day, this was probably 90. I got out of the Army in 88, 89, 90, something 90, 91, somewhere in that range. When we were still racing, he starts chewing on my Chevy, saying that piece of junk, blah blah blah. You can't drive that thing. It's gonna break. All these different things. And I said, okay, fine. I said, fine. Let's hook him up. Now, if anybody is a 4x4 fan, and you'd say, let's hook him up, you know what that means. You hook up a chain, and you hook them up back to back, and you pull, and you see who's going to pull the other truck. This just flashed in my mind the other day. So he was like, fine, you know how brothers are. So he said, fine, I'll show you. I said, okay. It took me a while to get him irritated enough to where he would actually do it. He fires up his Studebaker, backs up. And the road we lived on was actually like a tar and chip road at that point. So we talk about sticky traction, really, because it was mostly like a tar surface. So we get hooked up. He's running, I know he had like 16 and a half inch, the odd size 16 and a half inch wheels, tires that were like yay wide. So let's say there's maybe 7-inch wide tires, whatever. And I had those 33 by 12 50s, 4-speed. He had a 4-speed. So now it's on. We're going to see who can do what. I still think about this and laugh because I had never done this before. I had never hooked up to somebody else and tried to pull and see what would happen. Just never did it. So we got this chain, and we're sitting there, and the chain gets tight. He dumps his clutch. I dump my clutch. And all of a sudden, I am like squatting and dragging his truck. He's doing all he can. I mean, he's digging in, and we stopped for a second. I stopped just to let him kind of recover, and I felt him start to pull, and I said, oh, no. Boom! Took off. Well, I shattered his differential. Exploded the differential, at least in the rear. And I don't know if the front drive shaft came off. I don't remember what all, but it was bad. It was bad. And he was mad. He was so mad at me because he was like, you broke my truck on purpose. It's like, I stopped pulling. You started pulling the other way, so I went for it. And it busted up his truck pretty bad. So we unhooked, and we had to push his truck back over in front of the garage. And it's a funny memory for me. It's sad, that he's gone and all that, but it's a funny memory. And I'll never forget that day. Now that truck, he fixed it, and he drove it off and on for many years. And then eventually, I think he just got maybe tired of it, in a sense. And somebody showed up at the junkyard one day and said, hey, you want to sell that truck? And he said, I want to build a hot rod. Man, he just said, fine, take it. So he sold the guy the truck. The guy took it to his shop and basically turned it into a lowrider kind of hot rod, cool looking truck. And I don't know if I could find a picture of it. Somebody has shared a picture of that finished truck. I'm just going to Google search it real quick, see if it pops up. But I know that it was being used at Jennerstown Speedway, and it was a pace truck that they were using it, and it was I don't know where the pictures are, but at Jennerstown Speedway up in Pennsylvania. So I don't have a picture of it directly, but it's still living on. That truck is still living on. As far as my truck, like an idiot, I sold that thing back in 94. I think it was 94, 95. And the guy that bought it from me, as far as last I heard, this was back then, he drove it out of my from here. He drove it away from here, and took it to his place. And my understanding is they pulled the engine out of that truck and they stuck the engine in his dad's truck. But I don't know whatever happened to that truck. I have done so many searches on it. I have put out feelers. I've even gone to the DMV with some people that I know and said, "This is the." I still have the. Here's the weird part. I still have the title for that truck, because in Georgia you don't have to have a title. You can just, after 25 years, you can just write a bill of sale and you're done. So I didn't know at the time that I still had the title for that truck. So I have the VIN number for it. I went to the DMV tag office and I said, "Hey, I know somebody there." And I said, "Can you see if this truck is even around anymore?" And they said they never had any record of it being registered again. So it might still be sitting in somebody's backyard. And if they have it, I want it back. I want that truck back. I want to rebuild it and do it back the way, I don't know if I'll do it back the way I had it, or if I would do it back as the Forestry Service truck that it was originally built for. I think that would be kind of cool to go back to that, because it was originally yellow. I found when I was doing some work on this truck that it was a yellow Forestry Service truck, and I love the blue, but I think I'd probably consider putting it back as the way it was built, the way it was delivered to the Forestry Service. So there you go, junkyard story time. I know people have asked for that. I always ask for those, and that's one I'd kind of forgotten about, but I had that pop up in my head the other day, and just one of those memories. Robert said that had to be a fun truck. Yeah, well, both of them were. Derek, very nice, would be great if you still had it now. Yeah, I know. And Derek says, "Who's got the biggest tower of power?" Yeah. I think the advantage I had was the skinny tires. I mean, he had the skinnier tires on it. But then, like I said, I shattered the rear end in his truck. So yeah, that was that was not good. Derek, then you towed him home. Yeah, pretty much. And Derek, that would be a great adventure for the channel. Find it, get it home, and rebuild it. That would be a fantastic adventure video. I know the guy's name. And I haven't pursued it. I've looked online to find him. I haven't been able to find him. I guess if I really wanted to, I could probably hire like a private investigator or something and say, I need to find this guy and see what it would cost to really, really find him. Well, I don't have his number. That's the problem. Here, it used to be back in the 70s and 80s. I don't know when they stopped doing it. We used to have the white pages, right? And we had the yellow pages. And you could go to the white pages and look up anybody in your neighborhood or city. You go, "Oh, there's Bob Smith. He lives on Jefferson Street, 127. I'll give him a call, or I can just drive straight to his house." They did away with all that. That doesn't happen anymore. Same way with the yellow pages. You'd pull up an ad, say, "Oh, there's a guy who's a plumber. I'll call him." That stuff doesn't exist anymore. So I don't know how to. I'll say his name is Fred Mills. So it's not like it's an uncommon name. It's probably more of a common name than you would think. But I just can't find him. I just can't. Not yet, anyway. But if I do, I need to find out what happened to that truck. That would be a great adventure video. That really would. Okay, so let's get. Yeah, Derek, I've looked everywhere. I've looked on Facebook. I've done some internet searches. I've done all kinds of searches. I just haven't done a paid search. I did find, because his age, I know roughly where his age would be, and I did find some other people, and I tried to call them. It didn't work, so I need to start over on that whole process. Dominic, they still have white pages. It is a paid service now. Okay, I haven't even really looked into that, so maybe I should. Maybe I should pay the fee and find out what it's going to cost. Rick says no phone book anymore, just Google. Yep. that's pretty much where we're at. Pretty much. Oh, I was going to say as well. I didn't do a video on it, but I did a brake job, rear brakes on a Honda CRV, and I bring this up because when you live in the South, you tend to have really good luck with non-rusted bolts or corrosion or that sort of thing. And the neighbor actually lives up the street. Said, "Hey, can you put rear brakes only?" He'll ask for rear brakes, which I thought was kind of odd. But he said, "Can you put rear brakes on my Honda CRV?" And I said, "Sure." So I ordered a set of rotors and pads, and I didn't make a video because I was just trying to get it done for him and get it back to him. But simple, same process. You take off the wheel, take off the caliper, take off the bracket, take off the rotor, all that sort of thing. What surprised me is the calipers are not like giant, bulky, like truck calipers. They got twin pistons and stuff like that. They're a regular, small little caliper. And I've never, that I can remember, had a brake caliper that I could compress with my thumbs. I was kind of in shock. Usually I use my compression tool or a pair of vice grip, big C-clamp vice grips. I just started pushing just to see, and that thing went right in. I've never, ever had a caliper do that. I was really surprised. Okay, let's see. Derek's saying, "Got to go. Stay well and catch you next time." Glad you're here, Derek. Appreciate you being here. Dominic, what city does Mr. Fred live in? Well, that's a good question. I don't know for sure. We met at there's a trade school south of here in Griffin, Georgia, and we went to that trade school at the same time. I was taking a welding course, and that's what he was taking as well. And anyway, so that's where we met. So I think he lived around Griffin, Georgia. I think there's Griffin, Zebulon. There's a variety of places there. And the reason we connected so well was because at the time I was driving a 79 Malibu two-door, and he was driving a 79 or 78 Malibu. So we were like driving the same kind of car. And so that's how we got kind of connected. So it was, at the time I probably needed some money, and that's why I sold it. But I don't know which city specifically. I've even tried to contact the school and say, "Hey, can you tell me if this guy got a job anywhere in the area?" And they said, "No, we can't tell you that." So I'm kind of stuck on that. Rick, doing brakes on a GMC 2500, broke the rotor, taking it off because of rust. It cracked. That's crazy. I mean, I know the truck you were talking about is not that old. I think you said like 05, 06 or something like that. I know whenever I was taking, I had a brake drum that was so bad that I had to shatter the brake drum to get it off the car. I mean, I had to destroy it, split it to get it to come off the car. So, Roger says, "Good night, Derek." Yep. Let's see. Dominic, that makes it a little more challenging to find them then. Yeah, it does. It does. And like I said, I could probably pay a private investigator or something to try to track him down. Because I even know his wife's name. I know I know that much. Shane, does the phrase "it is what it is" bother anyone else? Of course it is what it is. It ain't what it ain't also. It is what it ain't. It ain't what it is. Or should we say that's life? I get it though. I get it. So, again, I don't know where I'm at with the frame for the 56. I don't know where I'm at with the sheet metal for the Camaro. I don't know where I'm at with the horns for the Mustang. I did do some. I had taken out the speaker in the back on the Mustang to try to test some things, so I got that back in, and I'm really thinking I should probably contact Wally, 68 Mustang convertible, Wally's Restoration, and see what he recommends for a different stereo to put in Jade, because the thing that I have, it works, but in hindsight, I probably should have went a different route and gotten something with the Bluetooth set up and all that sort of thing. I was even wondering, I haven't really looked. I know you can buy a regular CD or whatever radio. I don't even know if they sell CD radios anymore. I actually have up on the shelf, I have a CD radio that has Bluetooth built in, which is great. Odds are I'll never use a CD player, because who uses CD players anymore for the most part? But I was even wondering, do they even sell just a Bluetooth radio? Like, just, do you need anything more than a module? I mean, if you look at, you've got your phone, right? Look how small that is. And you can put on a set of, Bluetooth earbuds or whatever. So do they make something that's just a little, it should be pretty simple, a little cube of some sort that you could hide somewhere under the dash and just use that as your radio. Because, I know they have, with the wireless things, there's probably one laying here somewhere, where you can plug it into your cigarette lighter and then it'll connect to your radio, and you can do kind of Bluetooth that way or something. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just grasping at straws on that one. Robert, there are Bluetooth FM transmitters. Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to reference. I know I had one laying up here somewhere. I think it was one that my son had used. So I think it's like this thing right here, right? But I don't even know if I guess that. I guess the cigarette lighter thing works. But I would like to have something more dedicated than this hanging out of the dash. Randy Bayless, when plug welding, do you use 030 or stay with 023? Typically, I stay with 023, but you can use either. Now, the difference being, what size are your holes? Because like when I do plug welds, I don't like using a 1/4 inch hole. I just don't like it because it fills up too fast, and I want more surface area around the perimeter of the hole. So I go 5/16, and then I'll start welding at the edge, make a circle, and spiral in. So with the thicker wire, it's a little more challenging, in my opinion. But if you're welding a heavier piece of metal, the 030 can work as well, because you're applying more heat and it's going to burn in hotter and get you to fill that hole in as well. But it's kind of what you're comfortable with. But for the most part, any light sheet metal stuff, I use 023 wire. Good question. Rick, I saw on the forum that Stangaholics and PA sells fastback conversion kit for $67 for 5K all metal. Really? Wonder what the shipping is on that. I'll have to look that up. Stangaholics. That sounds interesting. Thank you for that, Rick. If you would, send me an email link to that if you have it. That way I can just, find out where it's at. Car Guy Troy, pretty sure they sell just a Bluetooth interface thing. I know most radios don't have CD anymore. Yeah, you would think if you can make like this thing, why not? I don't know. I just want something I can, even if it has an amp or whatever, that I can plug into, put my wires in, hook up the Bluetooth. Because I hate radio. I just hate radio anymore. I avoid listening to the radio as much as possible. Because it's just commercials. for the most part, it's just commercials. You'll hear a song or two, and then who knows about the Shane Company, right? Probably everybody on here has heard of the Shane Company. And every time I hear that guy, I just get irritated. I just turn the radio off. Just be done with it. I don't want to hear it. Just irritating. I'm here for music. Shane, they make everything electronic now. The Roswell crash was very beneficial to our technology. I'll go with that. Doyle, if it's in PA, you could do a road trip and visit family instead of shipping. That's true. That is true. Stangaholics in PA. Because I had a contact with a guy in Pennsylvania who had Dynacorn parts. And the plan was I was just going to drive up there and pick it up and, bring it all back in one trip. But he, didn't have any more inventory. So really I couldn't go get stuff. Greg's Workshop, got to go. Barry, good night all. Good night, Greg. Glad you're here. Robert, I don't listen to AM or FM anymore. It's either satellite radio, Pandora, or 96 Rock. Yep. Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of like Pandora. Now there are commercials on Pandora as well, and I've thought about just doing a subscription just to get rid of it. But apparently we have Amazon Music or something with our Amazon Prime account, and I guess we could probably use that as well. I don't know. But regardless, I want something different that I can put in the car. I should have bought the Bluetooth version of that radio instead of what I put in there, and I might have been very happy with it. But at this point, I'm not happy with it. And I don't know. Just one of those things. It's like, I should have spent the extra $100 or whatever it was. So, okay. I'm starting to get that spot in my neck that doesn't feel good. So I'm probably going to have to get ready to call tonight here in a minute. Robert, yeah, you can do Amazon Music from your phone to the car too. Yeah. That's probably what my plan is. That would be my plan. Dave Britton is checking in. Glad you're here, Dave. Probably going to be leaving here in just a couple minutes. Neck starting to hurt again. Get that weird. I don't know what that is. Just kind of a weird thing. Robert, I may miss next week. Planning on flying to Ohio next Monday. Open seats on flights and a break from the heat. Well, even though it's Ohio, it's probably worth it to get a break. Lightning Rod, I haven't listened to radio for years. I got so fed up one day working in the garage listening to commercials, rip out the radio and haven't looked back. Same commercials over and over. Yeah, and that is exactly why I've been using this. That I did a video on this thing. Really cool. I like it a lot. This is that Tree Blab, speaker. And I've used this, and I use Pandora or whatever. Play it through this thing. Sounds fantastic. In fact, I'm really looking at considering getting rid of. I have a traditional stereo sitting up here. It has 3 CD player, cassette player, AM, FM. Sounds great when it's making music, but it's commercials just ruin it. Nick is checking in. Hey, Nick. Hope all is well with you. Glad you're here. Give you a bell for being here. Mr. Fireman, have a good one. Glad you're here, Mr. Fireman. Nick says, dang, goodbye. Well, at least you were here. Nick's here. Everybody goes, Nick. Can't do Norm. Brian, I listen to Classic Rock Station plays 7 in a row once a week. Play old Paul Harvey and top 40 shows with Casey. I like it. I like that a lot. Shane, time to get an Underdash 8-track player. There you go. Robert, 7:30 and still 107. Got to close up shop and make sure there are no armadillos in there. Okay. Dominic Barry, one last question. What is Mr. Fred's wife's name? Only chance of finding this guy. Her name is Sonia. Pretty unique. I don't know how she spells it, but it's Sonia. Fred and Sonia Mills. That's all the information I have. If it helps find them, great. Nick, armadillo is the most Texas thing I've ever heard. Yeah, we got plenty of them here too, but yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to call it a night. It's been great having everybody here and participating. And I know I got Nick missed the junkyard story. So sorry, Nick. Should have been here for that. If I can watch to find the junkyard story. Um, but I want to thank everybody again for participating, adding stuff to the conversation, asking questions. All that makes it better and better. And we'll be back next Monday at 7 o'clock. Looks like we only had a little bit of the clowns show up tonight. I don't know how they got in, but that's fine. We got them. Robert got them stopped, or Roger did, one of the two. But that'll be it. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.